after e4, e5, f4, d5, and pawn takes in d5, main move, pawn takes in f4. Now here we're threatening queen h4, so obviously knight f3 is the best move by white, and in this video we're going to go through some stuff we haven't seen yet in the previous videos. So we're going to be focusing on this line, the one that goes on with knight f6 now. This is the best move, obviously, as you remember from the previous videos. c4, protecting the pawn further. So basically we didn't recapture the pawn in d5 because we didn't want to be attacked by the knight with a tempo. So we want to take the pawn in d5 with the knight, as explained already. But now white is defending it further. So in the c4 variation you play c6, and now we are going to take the pawn. So white's best move will be to take this and try to retain the center. d4 will be coming at some point, but the thing is that this is already getting better for black because knight takes back, and after d4 the move now is bishop to b4 check. This can be dealt with bishop d2, knight c3, knight d2. Other moves like queen to d2, giving away the queen for absolutely no reason, will not be seen because in this channel we do have some faith in humanity. So also knight after d2 is completely stupid and is completely pointless, especially after you put more pressure on that knight and then you play queen h4, should be game over. We can take it from there. So let's see now. We're going to look at the three options. Let's start with bishop to d2. Now we castle. In the previous video we went through a3 and the variations that happen next. There's a crazy attack starting with rook e8. It's check and it's already winning for black. In this video we're going to go through the early bishop takes bishop in b4. Does that neutralize our attack? No, because knight takes bishop and this is already much better for black. Let's make an example. If it was our move again, now we will play bishop f5, position evaluated -5 in the engine. The reason is very simple. Our opponent will take too long to castle, 2 moves only to castle, but it's already too long because there's too many threats to respond to. So now knight c2 wins the rook, and that's a threat that has to be responded with. But by the time white does that, let's say, I don't know, bishop to d3, not possible because you will take it. Any other move, you also have a check. Our opponent will have to move the king to f2 maybe, but then you got another check available. And bishop e2 is obviously not enough because knight c2 is happening anyway. So here it's white to move obviously, and we can't play 2 moves in a row, but you get what the plan is. Definitely the white player cannot allow us to make that move. So let's see what happens if knight c3. Here now the best move changes. The thing is that knight c3 allows the rook to move. So obviously bishop f5 is not as effective in this moment. So after knight to c3 you played knight to g4. It's already completely winning. Knight to g4 cuts away from the white player the possibility to move the king to f2. So you're going to play rook e8 check. Then you can also play bishop f5 and then knight to d3. The king can never move. This is some serious trouble. Let's say, for example, if our knight gets kicked out right away. Well, rook e8 already comes. And after bishop e2, knight to e3, attacking the queen. And we also have an attack on the square g2, not to mention the double attack of the square c2. Position is evaluated like -4. So no matter what our opponent does, there is no coming back. Funny thing is, okay, so let's take it from the start. We start making recaps to understand this as good as possible. f4, d5. Okay, they take in d5. Taking f4, knight f3. Knight f6 attacking the pawn, c4. Okay, c6. Take, d4, immediately check. So we're looking at the response bishop d2, but we're going to look at other responses as well. Castle. Okay, in this video we're starting with bishop takes our bishop, knight to b4, and now we went through knight c3. We talked about bishop f5 being the plan. If knight c3, then the plan is already has to change. It's not bishop f5. We're going to play knight g4. What happens after bishop to e2 immediately trying to castle? This is met exactly like in the previous example, knight to g4, taking off this square for castling and infiltrating in e3. Here castle cannot happen because you are already making this fork, so that's really stupid. Let's look at this move, a3, kicking away this knight, so that our opponent no longer has to worry about the double pressure of the square c2 and the potential check. This is just too late to happen, because knight e3 comes with an attack on the queen. And the queen has to move, and then you can still play this move. So you are winning as of the beginning. So in this position, what is the only move that our opponent is supposed to play? Queen d2 is the computer move. It still gives an advantage to black. It's like -2, almost -2. But now black can make a couple of forcing moves that makes the position even better. Queen to a5 comes now with the obvious threat of playing knight c2 check. The queen will be pinned, but queen can't take the knight. And after the swap of queens, we're winning the exchange at the very least. But probably the rook completely, because you have the possibility to play bishop f5 and the knight can retreat. Now here, knight to a3 doesn't work to stop knight c2 from happening, because you might argue, okay, the knight is defending that square, because now knight to e4, and the queen has to abandon the dark diagonal, and once that happens, you've got double check that leads to checkmate. So what can our opponent do to get out of this very serious problem right now? Well, the move is knight to c3. Knight to c3 obviously closes the pinning of this queen, so knight c2 doesn't work anymore, because the white queen will no longer be pinned. But now we play knight to g4, and position is just excellent. We're going to infiltrate. We'll see how white responds to this, but in e3 we're just sitting very well. That's the thing. And now the best move by white is bishop to e2, speeding up the process of castling. Obviously, castling long side is really crazy. You're winning the a2 pawn, and it's a very, very strong attack. Obviously, you gotta have like a check, so the king will be extremely unsafe, and the queen will infiltrate in a2 or win material at the very least. Here, what happens if white plays a3, attacking our knight, kicking that away? We play bishop to f5. We are careless because we can't really be kicked away, because a takes b is not a good move. You will win the rook. And that's it. It's convenient for our opponent now to just take the knight. We take the rook and we go up the exchange, but then we carry on with the game. At least white will have a passed pawn. Position is much better for black, but at least some slightly compensation exists. Here, this cannot be met with castling now, obviously. You will play knight e3, and when the rook moves... By the way, pointless to say that pawn takes knight there wasn't good, because you have this check, and that will be checkmate. And after the rook moves, you can play this knight here, and we are winning the exchange. If white saves the rook once again, knight to a1, threatening knight to b3, and that is unstoppable. What a masterpiece of a line is this. Right, so in this position, we say that the best move is queen to d2 for white. Queen a5 comes, and then knight c3 is the best move. Knight to g4, and after a3... Well, we just went through a3. What happens if white plays the best move according to the engine, which is bishop to e2 now? Well, okay, knight e3, and once again, we will go to this square and win material. Castling is not possible because of the knight. And a move like bishop to d1 looks like the queen is defending the square g2 and the bishop is defending the square c2 more, so maybe our opponent will be able to play a normal game. But in reality, that loses to rook e8, right? This is now a tragedy. It's impossible for white to avoid problem, because king to f2, and now knight to c4 attacking the queen. The game plays itself. Position evaluated -6.66 right now, indicating that the black player is playing like a devil. Ha ha ha. Okay, once again, recap, so that we don't get confused with all the possible positions, but the ideas are clear. Take, knight f3, knight f6, c4, c6, take, d4, bishop check, bishop blocks, ignore it and castle, because obviously in the variation where they take you and you take back, you're completely winning. So, queen to d2, best move according to the engine. Queen a5, knight c3 is the only move. Knight g4, bishop to e2, and now knight to e3. White can't castle. Now you might argue, what if king to f2 now? This looks like actually now, especially because the rooks are connected, a3 becomes possible. You have to retreat the knight. Our opponent doesn't really have a bad game going on because he's got 4 pawns here. He's got a majority, and so it's not, doesn't look any bad. It looks like a completely normal game. Black goes on with queen to b6, and c5 doesn't work to misplace the queen because queen to g6 comes, and you're threatening to go here, and you also have to be careful to knight g4 potentially. But the thing is, now there's a hole in d5, and so it would have been better for our opponent to push the d pawn. Anyway, rook to g1 defending, knight to g4, and now the king is forced to go up, and position is evaluated minus 340 for a reason. This is just a bad game. See, the king goes up, now you play rook to e8, and you have a threat of playing knight e3. So it's a knight e3 check, king moves, knight b to c2, attacking the rook. Rook saves itself with rook c1, but it's now just too late. Knight check, king moves, only square available. And now you give a check with this knight. Only move is king goes to e1. And now, crazy enough, you take in ace2. Obviously, taking with the knight is met with queen checkmate. Right, the knight's attacking these 2 squares, so that's not possible. Queen g3 is a real threat now, so after g4 by white, stopping the queen from infiltrating in this very dangerous file, knight takes with check, bishop takes back, and now the knight will have the possibility to allow us a discovery check. That should be enough to at least win the queen. Knight c4 is most accurate move, attacking the queen, queen e2 to limit, to reduce the damage. Rook takes, knight takes with an attack on this pawn. Is there any compensation, anything to do maybe? No, knight takes b2. We're threatening this check as well, and I mean, you can take it from here. The game is over. Knight to this square doesn't work. You just play queen f6, that's a skewer. But yeah, let's stop this line here. Right, so let's take it from the start. f4 d5, take, knight f3, knight f6, c4, c6, take, d4, and now bishop check. We're looking at this move, knight b to d2. Okay, so nothing special, it's a blunder. Castle, and after bishop to e2, you just take this pawn. This is a free pawn. There is no compensation even after castling, because you simply trade. Queen takes back, and now rook to e8. This is completely winning. Now the queen will have to move. Obviously, queen f2 is just absolute rubbish, because you have ideas like knight to g4 attacking. The queen will have to move. Bishop check. Then you can go back here. The rook is attacking this file. So let's just go through queen d1. Bishop to f5 is the best move. And now we're threatening bishop d3. And then the knight g4 plan is unstoppable, because you see, let's say white plays this move, knight b3, being able to move the queen, also because this bishop is undevelopable. Okay, well, bishop to d3, and now the currently plays rook e1, because the most accurate move now here is queen to b6 check. King moves, knight g4 is deadly. Queen can't take the bishop obviously because of this, but I think you're actually going for checkmate, not for the piece. And here, after bishop to d3 attacking the rook, rook f2 is just as bad, because knight e4, that's it, you just trap the rook no matter what. So let's take it from the start. Take here, knight f3, knight f6, c4, attack the pawn. Take, d4, bishop check, and now the knight to d2 blunder, because that's what it is. Castle. What happens if white plays d5? This saves the d pawn. This is a pass pawn, it's attacking the knight has to move again, and it looks like this could give a chance for the white player. So here now the move to continue is obviously, as you can imagine, rook to e8 check, position evaluated -7. And don't think you can just do some sort of artificial castling, because you've got moves like bishop c5, queen b6, which are completely deadly. Some of them might happen to be just checkmate. So bishop to e2, to stop the check of the rook. Queen to b6, stopping our opponent from castling. And it's crazy because if you don't really see the attack here, it looks like you've just lost a knight. I mean, what's the attack? Where's the checkmate here? The knight is well defended, the rook can't take the bishop, there's no sacrifice, there's nothing. But I do see the attack. Okay, let's say our opponent takes our knight. We're done a piece. This is the attack. Knight g4, queen f2. Very basic. You all can see that too. Everyone can see that. And if someone so rubbish as me at chess can see this, then that means you all can as well. Because we are all rubbish. That's why we need to watch more endgame strategies videos. Rook f1, right? Everyone's looking at rook f1 right now and thinking, okay, that saves the king for the moment. Okay, well, knight e3. We all saw this too. And now white will go on without the exchange, but at least he will try to go on with a normal game. He's up a piece after all, right? And if we take this rook with the knight, then you'll be down 2 knights for a rook, which is actually a really good deal for our opponent. What happens? Well, okay, the queen has to move away from the knight. That's a priority. Queen b3. And now knight g2 check. King must move to the only available square. Knight goes back to e3, check again. The king must move to the only available square. And now we play bishop to f5. We're threatening bishop c2, winning the queen. So what happens after a3? There's an attack on the bishop. The queen can take the bishop if you go bishop c2. Or at least the queen might go and find a shelter in a2. Okay, well, we still play bishop c2. Because knight g2 now is mate. So queen takes bishop, knight g2, checkmate. Did you see that? Maybe queen to a2. Okay, wait a second. Knight g2 is still mate. So the last line we're going to look at before we close this video is after take, knight f3, knight f6, c4, c6, take, d4. Okay, we check. What happens after knight c3? We castle. In the previous video, we went through this move, bishop f5 in this specific variation developing, and we saw that that was also leading to a disaster. What happens after a3? Kicking away the bishop. Well, surprisingly, we take. We give up the bishop pair. We also allow our opponent to centralize the pawn and create a stronger center. But that comes at a price. The price to pay is that now we play bishop g4, pinning the knight. And after bishop e2, it's not recommended for white to play h3 at that point. See here, instead of bishop e2, what if h3, attacking the knight? You play rook e8 check, king moves, knight e4 check, king moves to a square where it's not going to allow us a discover check that wins its queen. Bishop f3 comes now, queen takes, knight to d4 attacks the queen. This is too strong to meet. It's game over. If you take back, I've got this check. I've got an attack here as well. So back in this position, h3 is a bad move. Okay, so bishop e2, allowing our opponent to castle as soon as possible. Okay, knight to e4 creates a threat of knight takes here, winning a pawn and winning the bishop pair from our opponent. So queen to f3, queen to d3, protecting the pawn and developing a piece basically. Bishop takes f3 now. And now bishop takes is met with queen h4 check. This can't be met here because we have too many attackers over g3. Although that has to be the only move by the white player, right? He's not going to go to f1 because then this is mate, and he's not going to go to d1 because this wins the queen, and he's not going to go here because it's illegal, and he's not going to go here because then rook a to e8 is too strong to meet. We're making a threat of discover check. So after the only move, which is bishop takes, now we all know that we're going to play this move, right? f5. And when we're done recapturing this bishop, we're going to have these two passed pawns which are going to win the game. Position is evaluated as if black was up a piece for that reason. And in this position, for that reason, the best move by white is g3 anyway. And so here we take this pawn. Now here obviously taking this with the queen doesn't make sense because rook a to e8 pins it. If our opponent takes the knight with the bishop instead, then g2 check. Now you can argue that this bishop is defending that diagonal, but the king can't move anywhere. And either way we have a strong advantage now. Queen g3 doesn't work because you can take this bishop first, and you've also got checkmate coming very soon because you'll be taking this rook. So that's basically the worst move. In this position, the best move according to the engine is king d1. And now black plays the stunning knight e5 move. Pawn taking results in us pinning the queen to the king, and then we're winning this endgame easily. Queen to e2 is met with a promotion. Whatever you want to promote into, let's assume you promote into a queen, bishop takes back, knight to g4 comes. Threatening this, and also, you're getting the rooks in an open file. Position evaluated -4. So, let's see. King to c2, escaping that dangerous situation. Rook a to e8. Queen moves, but also it's recommendable for our opponent not to allow us any checks with this queen. So let's say queen d2. And now the best move is rook to e1, attacking the bishop. Okay, bishop moves away, takes this pawn. Well, even if it didn't. Okay, well, knight e3 now wins, because then the king goes on the b file, then you pin the bishop. Whereas if the king goes here into a more central square, then you can pin it, right? So that's terrible. But obviously, even if that didn't happen and black played and white played, I don't know, bishop d5 maybe. So in this position, bishop d5 instead. Okay, knight f6. If bishop develops, then you can just trade rooks, and you go to the endgame like this. You are winning. You got a rook for the bishop, and a great majority over here. You gotta, on the king side, you gotta be able to trade everything peacefully. You don't want to give your opponent any attacking chances with the queen. b5 is the move by which we're gonna close the line. We've been evaluated -5 for a long time. And the thing is that this bishop will never really play, and we're going to activate our rooks soon enough. If our opponent doesn't do anything about this, then the best move will be to take this bishop and take back. And I here just play queen e4 check and you take this pawn. So that's just an example.